You want to keep spending, you want to keep growing, but the more you spend, the higher the risk for a lower profit margin is, and you want to show your investors a high profit margin.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Leumi Tech, sponsored by Hippo Insurance, Upwest Labs, Turing, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, and in media partnership with C-Tech. Let's talk about marketing and gaming. Meet Yaron Bartal, VP of Growth, SciPlay Corporation. Yaron's interest in marketing began 15 years ago while researching a McDonald's case study. In 2010, he joined Matomy, and 4 years later, founded his own company with two great friends. He later joined Apester and spearheaded the entire business and media operations. He recently joined SciPlay, a social gaming behemoth, as VP Growth, and is looking after their global marketing efforts, starting from organic and paid user acquisition to marketing tech, art, and innovation. Yaron Bartal, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders from the SciPlay offices, I believe, right?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Yeah, up in the 25th floor in Ramat Gan, the Bursa.
Wonderful having you here, Vice President of Growth at SciPlay Corporation. We're going to talk about gaming and marketing and your own trajectory and journey. And the gaming industry is growing like crazy. And this whole question of growth, it's become more and more fascinating for me, especially, and seeing it in different industries. And I'm excited to pick your brain on how you think through growth and what are some of the interesting challenges that you're dealing with. But even before then, was it always obvious to you that you're going to be in marketing through different organizations and through, growth, that this was sort of the big plan?
Well, it was definitely kind of the plan from the get-go. I couldn't tell you that that things hadn't changed along the way. But initially, when you look back about 15 years ago, it's definitely something that I wanted to do.
And so what is it about, when you say something I wanted to do, so when you look at marketing or growth, what do you see? What is the thing that excites you about that?
Well, that's a good question. I think it's kind of a blend of a lot of different elements. So we're obviously talking about the unique skill of kind of persuading consumers to consume your product or your service, right? And that's an art of some sort if you think about it. And I think kind of the secret sauce to marketing is kind of understanding who the target audience is and kind of pinpointing that target audience with a very precise messaging. And if you get that wrong, then it just goes downhill from there, right? So you really gotta understand what you're doing. You have to kind of set the objectives and make sure that you're on the right path from the get-go.
So just as a case study, SciPlay Corporation, how do you go about figuring out target audience, matrix? How do you actually, communicate with that target audience? What is sort of the game that you're playing with your team over there?
So SciPlay has been around for decades now, right? As kind of a subsidiary of Scientific Games. So we pretty much know what we're dealing with, but things have changed so rapidly as you mentioned during the past year or so, and it's a whole different ballgame right now. So I guess that the major challenge that we face currently is kind of challenging our predefined assumptions. So we know who our users are, right? We have the data. Like we can tell who the users are by their Facebook profile. They disclose that information happily because then we can target them with custom events and offerings and incentives, and whether it's our VIP clients or any other end user looking to play our games, right? So basically, while we thought for quite a long time, we were sure that our very specific target audience is of a specific gender and a specific age group, it has become more and more clear that that the industry has changed, right? That more users are playing a lot of games not only for kind of the core features, but a lot of users are also looking for kind of the meta games, the social aspects of the games, playing together, playing solely, but at the end of the day, we're looking at a whole new target audience that we can approach. Like you have these huge games that you even forget what their core offering is, right? That the match three games that
Wow.
have this huge meta going on, and we're just trying to understand um, how to kind of place ourselves in our marketing endeavors within that new landscape.
It reminds me a little bit of this Apple TV series Mythic Quest, which is hilarious in one end, but it's also it shows me a perspective of the gaming world where really you're creating a whole new universe, and all of a sudden people are doing your users are doing things that you didn't expect them to do, and you have to now shift your mindset of okay, so I guess that today's 15-year-olds aren't the same as 3 years ago 15-year-olds, right? That things are changing so rapidly.
Absolutely, things have changed so much in the past decades. I mean, I I I feel 60, but I'm only 38. So it's that's what kids do to you. But at the end of the day, I remember days where consumer behavior and things like that were totally different than they are today.
Right.
Like today we have one of our products is kind of focused on under the sea, right, and fish and the ocean and things like that. So we're looking on a marketing perspective on how to tie that up with things like that you see on Netflix today, like Seaspiracy, right? How to kind of turn that into save the ocean and stop polluting, and so that's a whole new thing that we didn't even think about 20 or 30 years.
Wow. Now, tell me a little bit about, organic versus paid growth. I don't know much about it. I'm really curious, especially when it comes to the gaming world. What is it a differentiation? And then what are sort of the pros and cons as you see them?
Well, they kind of both fit in perfectly and blend perfectly together. I think there's no such thing as kind of um, organic growth as opposed to paid growth, right? You're looking at the end of the day at a user acquisition, and you need to understand that what you want to do is you want to increase the user database, and at the end of the day, either you target those users through digital means that are paid, and these can be traditional Facebook, Google search, influencer marketing, things like that. But it can also be to kind of target those same users through organic means, whether it's App Store optimization, and to kind of make sure that you have your users um, exposed to your products, and that your products are ranked up there, and those two blend really well together to kind of create a very holistic view of our whole user base. Like today, if I need to think of the distribution, then we're definitely talking about something like a 50-50 split
Oh,
between
wow.
organic and paid users. So yeah, and
Wow.
organic is also a very strong tool that you have to base your international footprint, right? Whereas it's pretty difficult to do that with a paid kind of a paid initiative. It's super easy to see that, hey, we have a bunch of users coming in from France. Let's tackle that market and understand their incentive.
Right. And so I did hear a lot of this concept that, organic is considered more valuable. A user that came organically is more valuable than a user that came in through paid endeavors. Is that really the case? Why is that a lot of people think that an organic user is worth more?
Well, first of all, it's I mean, if you don't look at each user individually, but you look at it as a whole, it definitely makes sense, right? If you go and you open up your browser and you search for one of SciPlay's games, then you'll have a much higher intent to play, to proceed in the game, and even to make a purchase, right? Than if you were to see like a SciPlay ad on Facebook or on the
Yep.
open web or one of your other apps, and then you'd be like, hey, this looks like a neat game. I'd love to download it and give it a shot, but it's not something that you actively pursued. So
Right.
it's a different ballgame, and we definitely look at those two kind of on a separate scale with a different lifetime value.
So as you are now sitting in the position of vice president of growth at SciPlay, and you're mentioning that this is a corporation, many years, a lot of expertise in the field. You know already a lot of your target audience. It is shifting, and you are and it sounds like you're keeping up with the shifts, and you're continuously questioning. Are we still doing the right thing? What is the challenge then? Where are you headed from here at this point when VP growth 2021 games are exploding around us? What is your sort of task in this big ship?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that where you headed from here is kind of the tagline for every VP growth, right? Because you really want to kind of steer the ship in the right direction, not only in terms of how to grow our our digital marketing efforts, but how to grow the company. Because you have to work in sync with the game studios to understand what their roadmap looks like, so you can kind of sync that into the marketing roadmap, and then you can kind of understand that we're all going in the right direction, right? You have to work with the guys from business development and strategy to understand what the M&A targets are, because the M&A targets are very influential on growth, and also have an impact on what our marketing roadmap will look like. So basically what you need to do is, first of all, understand you have to work your way from the top to the bottom. You got to understand where the company is headed. So the company SciPlay was publicly offered in May of 2019. So it's been only 2 years, right? And that's a fairly low amount of time. And well, we had all these kind of objective shifts to where we want to be and where we want to go. And right now, our aim is to kind of protect our enterprise value, and to increase that, and to grow month over month and quarter over quarter. And how do you do that, right? Because you want to keep spending, you want to keep growing, but the more you spend, the higher the risk for a lower profit margin is, and you want to show your investors a high profit margin. So they want to see growth, and they want to see you cut costs, and they want to see you just basically get it all done. Uh,
Right.
it's a difficult task, but I guess the key here is to kind of make sure that you work your way to understand the objectives, first of all, on the high level, and then downstream them to the departments and the teams. And at the end of the day, understand what the UA manager does to contribute to the objectives of the company.
And around how many people are you at SciPlay?
So currently we're about 600 strong. About 400 people are based in the U.S. In two main locations. So Cedar Falls, Iowa, and Austin, Texas. And then we got about 200 more here in Tel Aviv. And if I'm not mistaken, I think about 80 to 90 people out of the 200 here were actually were recruited during COVID. So yeah, that's
Wow.
pretty cute.
Now I'm asking this because now I'm saying, okay, so you have 600 people, an expectation to grow month over month, to cut costs, to be innovative. You're tasked with trying to, comprehend how the hell are we keeping up with this ever-changing world? How do we remain relevant, especially as gaming? I'm assuming that gaming is one of the industries that is transforming the fastest and in the greatest extent, because there's just so much money in there, and there's so many now players, and it's all about creativity, right? So how do you balance creativity and risk taking with being a VP at an enterprise that at the end has investors, and you can't just go and and fail, right? You have to show results.
Right. I mean, the gaming market is so overflooded, right? You've got literally millions of apps available in the big stores, and I guess the hardest part is to remain kind of attractive enough for your loyal user base to not want to churn, and to kind of go to other competitors. Because I guess when you look at SciPlay's games, right, we're kind of, we have our unique selling points, and our value propositions, but it's in no way something unique in the market, right? You got big companies like Playtika, and you got companies like Aristocrat, Product Madness, and Moon Active, and those guys, and they all have great products. And what causes a user to remain loyal in our in our safe helm rather than kind of switching sides? And I think the answer to that is content, right? We want to make sure, and that's kind of that's the main challenge that the game teams face today, right? They have to keep content booming, new features, incentives, a great economy, retargeting efforts that we're helping out with in the marketing side, and customer success and VIP kind of special attention and things like that. You got to make sure that that you're keeping your closest players at your side. That's key.
And so, how involved are you with the actual gaming industry? Are you a gamer yourself? Do you actually go and participate in the thinking process behind the products that you're building? Or are you more siloed into, okay, these are the products of the company, and how do we grow these products within the market? Which of these two? Or a balance?
Well, basically, I'm a gamer. I'm a gamer by heart. It's something that I've been very passionate about since I was a kid. Back in the arcades, and I bought my first Nintendo back in 1980 something when I was
Wow.
7 years old, like 5 years old. But I've always had a strong affinity for games, and kind of when the smartphones came along, and you could download games for free. I mean, that's crazy, right? And the whole concept of freemium was just mind blowing. And yeah, so it's definitely something that I've showed a lot of interest in. And I'm a hardcore fan of some mobile apps today, of some gaming apps today, which I deposit quite a bit each month. So I'm a good user too. Um, I actually I didn't spend the majority of my career gaming. I went to a different direction of ad monetization, which was kind of indirectly related or correlated to the gaming industry. But that's what I've been doing for like about a decade or so, the last decade, and then I saw the surge during COVID, and that was kind of the tipping point for me. It's something that I always wanted to do, but I waited for like the right opportunity and the right company, and this was kind of like the perfect opportunity for me, and I feel myself incredibly lucky and fortunate to be here.
I love that. And if you have to, guess if gaming in 5 or 10 years, paint me a picture of how that looks like in your mind, the gaming world.
Oh wow! So I think in a matter of 5 to 10 years, so much could change. Like we could be, like we're looking at the technological advancements of things like virtual reality and augmented reality and things like that. It could be a whole different industry and landscape, and we could be talking about like a different way to play games. Like I just saw a post today by Mark Zuckerberg showing how he plays Beat Saber, right? And that's not, you should look that up. It's a good post. He's actually not bad, but that's definitely a whole new aspect of gaming that we're not like accustomed to. If you ask how will users consume games in 5 or 10 years, then I'm just seeing the chart just blast off, right? I'm in no way do I think that we're going to see some kind of stagnation or decline. I just think that we're going to see a lot of interesting trends coming in, mainly from Asia and APAC. I think that's where it's at.
Wow. Yaron, toda raba. This was wonderful. I have 3 questions. They're not about gaming. They're not about marketing. They're about Yaron. Are you ready for them?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We'll start off with your favorite subject in middle school or high school.
I'd have to go with physics. I actually I majored in physics in high school. I love physics.
Okay, I did
I'm
not expect that.
an astronomy geek as well. I just love how the everything works out perfectly and how the world works. That's pretty geeky. I mean, I know, but I just love it.
Amazing. Who would be a role model or somebody that creates an inspiration for you on some level?
I'd have to go a bit cliche on this and say my father, which is also a bit emotional for me as he passed away a few years ago from cancer. But the reason I'm mentioning him is because he was the one who actually drove me to found my own company and decades earlier to just start working on my own and be more assertive and have that confidence I needed to kind of pave my path and the beginning of my career.
Wow.
So definitely him.
Amazing. And 3 words that you would use to describe yourself.
I go with passionate, experimental, and a growth seeker.
Passionate, experimental, and growth seeker. Yaron, toda rabba. This was wonderful. Best of luck with SciPlay Corporation. I think that it's a fascinating position. I have no idea how it begins and ends, but it sounds incredibly fascinating. And I'm sure that we only scratched the surface right now, but I'm excited to learn more and more throughout the year. So thank you very much for this, and stay safe and stay healthy.
My pleasure, Michael. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.